are suffering from is ideological confusion. That is, that we're not clear, we're not thinking clearly, and that we need a context within which to answer the question, is something good or bad? We assume that we have the same goals, but we never say what they are. It's time for us to think and articulate and establish our goals as Black nationalists and Pan-Africanists. We need vision, we need clarity. Otherwise, we can't answer the question, is it good for African people? Nationalist goal is self-determination. In the spirit of Delaney, Garvey, Malcolm, Amos, it is Pan-African commitment, that is the unity of African people worldwide and one Africa on the continent as a basis for African strength. So we are about building a Pan-African world order based on the principles of Ma'at, not in imitation of a European order. Ma'at as justice and truth. We need a nation concept, as Dr. Clark told us. A Black economic program, a cultural program, an independent political organization, independent Black media, independent African-centered education financed by us and controlled by us. All of this presupposes, very importantly, an African Black identity.
Well, Otep, brothers and sisters, and welcome back to the AO podcast, the African World Order podcast. Another Friday here in Philadelphia. I'm here with my co-host. Who are you? Who are you?
You say, who am I?
Yeah.
My name is on there. Hey, what up, everybody? This is Iya. So, how y'all doing? How was your week?
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. Just another normal week. Nothing really exciting happened. But, it's pretty good. Nothing to complain about.
I don't know.
And Brother Talawa, did that bring you too early? Were you busy?
No, I just had to handle my tech situation. But looking forward to today's discussion. A lot's been going on in the African world.
For sure.
Looking forward to us collectively gathering to give a perspective of African world order.
All right. Cool. Appreciate you, man. I like your living room. I like what you've done with your living room.
That's that luxury living.
So today is a very special day for someone that we know about, right?
Yeah, we want to give a very special shout out and happy birthday to Dr. Ama Mazama, one of the co-founders of Afrocentricity International. So we want to send her some love and, wish her many, many more.
Yeah, indeed.
Yep. Very proud of Pirat for her work, and man, a blessing to know her and, to always have her around us. So, it's really a blessing. Tarawa, sorry.
I second my co-host, Ama Mazama, a great, fearless African warrior. Some call her the whispering gangster.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm glad to have, encountered her in my life. She's really made a difference in my life.
Absolutely.
So happy birthday to Mambo Ama Mazama, Parat Universal.
All right. Cool. All right. So sorry, I'm the producer. Sometimes I have to do a few touchings in the background.
Gosh, you and this
it's not easy, So the game is not easy, you know what I mean? So you gotta do a few things.
No, it's not. It's not.
I got my little Philadelphian accent too, so.
Okay, you're taking it too far.
All right. So, well, as you know, for the people who are familiar with our show, we usually start to take care of the BS, first, aka the bullshit, the bullshit. You have to do the bullshit first. So, what's going on. That section is really important. So we're gonna go a little quick tour around the world. So sorry. I gotta do my a producer thing.
Cause
Whenever I say the
you got
bullshit,
graphics. You got graphics.
yeah, I'm trying to have like real like a bullshit walking through the screen. Would that be nice?
Next time.
If you believe that that should be the next thing, just among the 1,000 people following us right now, just put the thumbs up. All right, all right. The first BS of the week, right? We're gonna start with something that looked really trendy in Africa. What's going on? It's like Ghana tried to become a francophone country. What's going on with that? Thoughts, please.
That's what we want to know. What's going on? But I mean, this has been going on, if I'm not mistaken, because um, I do recall watching Dr. Cambone
Yeah.
on like a show in Ghana
Mhm.
talking about this. So this is not like a new issue, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I don't get it. I really don't. I Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know.
Talawa, what's going
Yeah,
on with your
so
country,
as
man?
early as 28, sometime around 2018, 2019, at 2019,
Mhm.
because it's so much bullshit I can't even speak properly. Um, I know Okunini Kambon, one of he was on a panel that was critiquing the addition of French as a compulsory language in Ghana. That
Mm.
was something I know he was critical of, or not critical is an understatement for obvious reasons. I don't
Mhm.
think that requires for elaboration. And I think at the same time, Jamaica was also pushing for French as compulsory education, as a compulsory education
Yeah.
language. So
Mhm.
this kind of move, transition towards being part of the Francophile, has been there's been it isn't just spring up just like that. There's been some wheels put in place on it, so to speak, or a cart, so to speak. But I
Mhm.
think part of the short-sightedness of it, and why it's ultimately bullshit, is I think when we're trying to unify with surrounding areas of the continent, we usually, due to our conditioning, we say, okay, there's Francophile Africa, Franco and Anglophone Africa. No, there's Anglo and Franco colonized Africa and
Mhm.
Caribbean likewise, right?
Yeah.
We need to find African languages to communicate with people locally, but there's this, or locally
Mhm.
within the continent. But there's this tendency to think, well, the solving problem solving language
Yeah.
is French or English, which that
Mhm.
doesn't really work. It's short.
Yeah. I think it was great when you brought, I don't know which one. I think it's Talawa. You brought that BS to us, that bullshit. And automatically I thought about what's going on in the the place I was born, like Gabon, because as you know as well, in Gabon too is trying to, I think they already applied to go to be part of the Commonwealth. So Gabon is initially a French colony in Africa, right? And now today, right, they're trying to become also part of the Commonwealth. So like it sounds really trendy. That's why I say it looks like it's trendy. Like we can really, what are the reason why this country are trying to move from a colonizer to another? You know what I mean?
Right,
And
because yeah.
go ahead.
Because and then when, like, so the same likewise will apply to Gabon,
Mhm.
especially with English education. Who are the people who benefit, right? You're going to need educators to learn this language.
Yeah.
Here you're going to see a lot of course, Yoruba, especially Yoruba women,
Mhm.
infecting the continent
Yeah.
through quote unquote so-called education, which is really diseducation and anti-education and miseducation and a whole bundle of cultural confusion. Because
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
thing is, why not learn the actual languages of your neighbors, right?
Mhm.
Because even in Ghana, majority of people don't speak English. Majority of people in Cameroon do not speak French, right? I'm
Yeah.
just giving Cameroon as an example, and ditto
Mhm.
Mali and Senegal,
Mhm.
right? So I think that's very important. So it's which kind of social groups want to be conversing with each other. So there's that dynamic going on. So you want to basically have the stush stush um,
Mhm.
French-speaking Africans with French-speaking Africans just having more conversations, really,
Mhm.
really not getting anything done. So just a bunch of bullshit, double
Yeah,
Yeah.
coincidences.
I don't. Who, what did they provide the rationale? Like,
I
you
think
know what I'm saying?
I think that the real reason they're trying to enter this group, those linguistic group. I don't know, because um it comes with a package. Whenever you if you if when you're part of the Commonwealth, it comes with some financial aid with it. It comes with opportunities for investors to come to your country, and I think that's what Rwanda did. That's why you see Rwanda is kind of like I'm not gonna say Rwanda is doing well, but like it's a striving economy in Africa, because Rwanda used to be a French speaking country until they had this genocide that happened there. And Kagame, who who was like, I mean, some say that he worked with the American government and the CIA, probably, right? So he's really like, and he's also, and he used, I think he was also close to, I don't know if it was Uganda or some English speaking country in East Africa that was supporting him to fight against the government at the time in Rwanda back then before he became the president. So Kagame speak well, is really fluent in English. So I think that he decided after the genocide, I don't know if you're familiar with the Rwanda genocide. The French, some people say that because the French support the government of the Hutu, of the president who was Hutu, they say that the French participate to the genocide. So that was one of the reasons why he was able to because the opposition that he had against the French people, he was able to convince his country to become a English speaking country, and therefore enter the Commonwealth. But they're still part of the francophone. That's kind of the thing. So I think that some countries now they want to use it to be able to bring investors from both different group of people, because you have the group of, like, the French and the
But
South European. I mean,
shouldn't
I'm talk,
that's
I'm.
what, no, I'm saying that's
Mhm.
that I don't disagree with that being a
Yeah.
reason, but it's just the positioning is just peculiar to me, considering a couple of live streams of, in the past where we talked about the African Union agreeing on Swahili being the
I
language.
agree.
So I don't understand, like,
I agree.
why, in Ghana, why it wouldn't be like
The liberal
true,
government, like, I mean,
or
we know who we have. Like, they're not Pan-Africanists. They don't think like us. Like, they're looking, whenever I hear like African people talking about, oh, let's find an opportunity to bring investor coming to our country and invest in our economy. You know what the politic, they're capitalistic, they're liberal, or like they're in a la la land where like they think that Africa will become developed because they bring European and American investor. You know what I mean? They don't look inside. It's just like, I see what you're saying, but I think that I'm just trying to explain the reason behind those action. But at the same time, you know what I mean? Like, we know that these people, they think a different way that we are thinking.
yeah, like I mean, if that's their reason, it's lazy. Because
I
like I
agree.
said, you I think this striving for perfection is gonna kind of kick us in our butt, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously, the argument is gonna be, you know, whatever country, they have so many different language X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, y'all educated enough to choose a language that, a native language that most people speak,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll have to just, what I'm saying, learn that language, but it's your country's language. So I
Mm-hmm.
think whatever reason they're gonna give to me would be
I mean,
lazy.
I mean,
I think it's lazy.
it's good. I'm sure Talawa want to speak to, but like, it's good. This conversation is interesting. You know why? Because also, right now, if you do research, right, and you want to have access to, let's say, Sheikh Antadi uprising, or you want to have access to, let's name a prominent um, intellectual here in America, like Dr. Asante, or anybody else, like you see, like when you speak one of those language, like in order to read Czech Antelope, you have to really read, you really have to speak French, right? Sometimes, or if you want to read Dr. Asante, you have to speak English, like, you know what I mean? So I think sometimes what's justify some countries to choose French or English is because of like the opportunity to have access to certain documentation or technology. Like if you're a programmer in computer, you know what I mean? If you're a computer programmer or you into technology, you know what I mean? You probably want to use, you probably want to be familiar with English, because most of like the coding languages, they kind of, all the technology instruction manuals or technology, they mostly English, German, and so forth, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
but the Chinese not saying that. You know what
well,
I'm saying? And they
something,
developing their own. I
no, I'm
guess
not
what I'm saying is,
I'm not saying what you're saying is not true, but my observation when I moved here in America, right? The first year I went to a boarding school. The first year I came here, it was mostly South Korean people. That was like maybe 60% of the school. I'm telling you, the next year, most of the students were Chinese. So Chinese people sent a lot of the kids in English speaking countries so that they can learn from all the documentation of the British, and then they can translate it back in Chinese. That's why, like, for me, I'm in the manufacturing. As the year goes by, manufacturing and the industry in Chinese quality improve over the year because they're able to send the kids in English, in England, and I mean America, all over the place. I'm not saying that to justify that we have to do the same thing, but there's something here to kind of also understand. I don't think that will justify what the action was. I'm not saying that I'm for what those presidents are doing, but at least it sounds like something that's practical. Talawa, sorry, you haven't said a word, and I don't want to be saying too much.
I think Sister Ia is trying to do her best Talawa impersonation. But my thing is this. I think this will kind of leak into some of our main topic.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think often you, man, it's just, to me, it's just very simple. If you know what is the purpose of this bid, because when you know the politics of the people making these bids, right? They
Uh-huh.
say, for example, in Ghana's case, I want to interact with, you know, my African neighbors. Let's say Cote d'Ivoire is right beside me because there's an Akan community. It both is a transnational ethnicity. You have Akan people in Ghana, and also
Uh-huh.
on the other side in Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast.
Uh-huh.
Some may know it in English as Ivory Coast. Why not learn the languages of the local people there? And vice versa too for Gamma. So why not? Because that's what the majority of people speak.
Uh-huh.
So what has to be done is not so much that you can't learn French or English in terms of a second or tertiary
I see what you're
language.
saying. Uh-huh.
The problem is when you have that being the basis of the education system.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So what's, because what's happening in places like Ghana, um, and also this has happened in Jamaica, this is happening in
Uh-huh.
Haiti. One of the issues people have been arguing is you shouldn't be teaching children in a language that's not, their so-called mother tongue, which really you should say
Uh-huh.
their cultural language, really, but so-called mother tongue language, right? Students who learn English and French in their own language perform better than students who don't,
Uh-huh.
right? So that whole, issue is solvable, and this has been brought up in research frequently. But again, when you
Uh-huh.
have that intensity of the white validation syndrome, where sometimes people might not even be hostile to that idea, but it's not even a
Uh-huh.
thought, right? So I think that context is important to your point, Shanuti, about administration and business, and
Uh-huh.
that gets into the commenter Ua Bantum about language being a military thing. That's pretty accurate, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Uh-huh. 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 Mr. Ia, I know I interrupt you a lot here. Oh, you muted.
No, we're good. We good.
Yeah. No, it's just like, I mean, I'm think that we have this one bullshit, but I think we can dive in straight to the main topic, because we don't need to speak about that 100 year.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So we can just pass it, because we're already in the middle. We already talking about the main topic here,
So,
languages,
so
and I think that was a good start. Mhm,
as you're going into the main topic,
mhm,
one of the things I need us to think about, though,
mhm,
as is like being deliberate in so there's a couple of things that we do with language, right? There's a
mhm,
preservation, and there's also like a building up, right, of language. And the
mhm,
reason why I'm confused about what's going on,
mhm,
I have to find an article to give you guys, but I remember reading an article
mhm,
about how they introduce, like they taught like math concepts to children in
mhm,
Yoruba, and they did very well, right?
mhm,
Because it was their language, they could relate, and then obviously, math being universal, it's just how do you do that? So a couple of things happen with language, right? Because I remember reading, and I'm so bad with pronouncing her name, but
mhm,
um even when she was talking about like certain concepts having to deal with like women or gender or whatever the relationship is, there were just some words or like functions or concepts that just didn't exist in the Yoruba language.
mhm,
So what am I saying?
mhm,
That we can evolve it, right? And it could be on our terms, you know what I'm saying? And I just don't understand why our go-to is always to like diminish who we are. You know what I'm saying? Like we feel like being advanced or getting ahead has to be like an elimination. Like it's just so corny now. Like it's just
mhm,
really, really corny to keep having these conversations. Um, and it just now it's just coming off as lazy. You know what I'm saying? Like
mhm.
you being lazy. So like your language, the culture doesn't evolve the way you want it to evolve, if that makes sense. I know I
It
said a
may
lot of things, but it's just I just it's just lazy to me.
No, I understand. I think it's for me. It's like, I don't think it's laziness, but I think it's a bad habit. You know what I mean? That it also come from the fact that they don't. I mean, like, remember the history of colonialism. Kind of, when we spoke about African language, we talk about ethnic. We're like, I remember they were saying, like, oh, this is not even back home. I remember when we were talking about my native tongue, they were talking about, oh, this is just like a dialect. You know, they never spoke about it as a language. Like, we didn't know we were like bilingual. That's how bad it is. Like, can you believe, like, you speak like two languages, but you don't even think about your mother tongue as a language? That, so psychologically, that was already like a problem. And so, like, we don't recognize internally that this is a language. You know, I mean, we think that this is just something that is spoken in a family. And this is kind of weird. Now that you spoke about it, it's so true. The first part where I was speaking about language, when we spoke about the bid for Ghana to become a francophone country, I think like this part is really important. You know what I mean? One thing to make sure of is like, when we do our research and when we want to achieve sovereignty, we want to become industrialized or so forth, we have to be able to speak the other person. You need to be able to tap in those resources. It's out there, it's free. I think that we can speak those language. But I totally agree with you. There's this philosopher. Her name is Sophie Olowula. She passed in 2018, I think, and I love her a lot because I mean, I watched some of the video on Facebook, and she made that point that you just did. So many students in Africa, people, or like in the island, in the Caribbean, right? When the teacher, you take a white student right? Let's say let me go back. You in Africa, right? You go to a French school, right? You have a white student who speak French totally with his mom, and you have an African kid who comes back from the village. When they come back, when they're the same age, they're supposed to be in the same class. So when the teacher is teaching class, right, the white student is already familiar with the language, but the African native student, he doesn't know. So he has to learn the language first. So the white kid gonna have good grades because he understands everything that the teacher is saying. But now the native, the African kid, like he has first to understand the language and then try to catch up. You know what I mean? So like the fact that we have to learn in other people's language, especially for our parents, right, who lived through colonial time and so forth, like they have to, they they were like left behind in some sort. They had to catch up with this white in their own language when they could have excelled if they just have if like if like they were just speaking their own language. If it was taught in their own language, they would be look like they're the smarter kid. You know, I don't know if you follow what I'm saying. It's like the
I
white
do,
kid
but
is.
I think that's part of my issue. I
Mhm.
mean, but obviously it's going to take a lot of work because we shouldn't be sending. We should have our own institutions,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying. If the school were
Yeah.
taught in African languages, like they didn't have to catch up. They didn't have to catch up, like try to learn a new language and then
Mm-hmm.
retain the information. So this is like for me, like the brother say, language is military. This is already a way to defeat us, to beat us, because we we have to learn a language while while the people on the language already retain the info. I mean, they seems to retain the information quicker than us because like they're already familiar with the language and everything, when we have to learn the language first and then try to retain the information. And if it was the other way, we would be seen like, okay, like we most knowledgeable about everything. I don't know if you follow, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Even
I
when
do,
you.
and I
Mhm,
think it answers the question why Black language matters. Black language matters because, like, when you are talking in your, and I guess we'll use native tongue, for the purposes of
mhm,
this. But when like, there's so much, there's a freeness to your imagination, creativity, innovation. You understand what I'm saying?
mhm,
Like, it's just things are logical.
mhm,
You get what I'm saying?
mhm,
So that solely is why it matters. I mean, I don't know how many studies they need to do to show, like, when you present children things in languages that they understand, they do better and they thrive better. You
mhm,
understand? Because
mhm,
for a long time, even my parents, I mean, I patois, whatever you want to call it, like a
mhm.
lot of stuff that they would say to me, it just made sense to me that way. And then trying to explain it the other way, it took a lot of work. And then
Yep,
it took, you know what I'm saying? It just
yep,
took the whole imagination.
yeah.
But when my mom and dad is talking
Mhm,
to me, like, I
mhm,
get it, I could visualize it, I could see it. I don't have to do a lot of stuff to process it.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or process a message or
Mhm,
process, doing something. So Black
yeah.
language matters because, like,
It
that's just who
matters.
you are. It's just
Yeah.
not like you don't have to put a lot of work in. So I guess for me,
Mhm,
going back to the BS a little bit, and combining it with this, I don't understand. Like,
mhm,
for me, for you to say that you want to do like the 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 francophone thing
mhm,
and not propping up any one of the languages,
mhm.
I don't believe that you put your African languages to
In the
to to
pedestal.
that. Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm,
you put yourself and working with your people second.
yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm,
I mean, it's a lot, and I think that's basic. I mean, on its level, that's real,
mhm.
basic in terms of like how we all feel about language. But I don't
Yeah.
think we, I don't think it's that I just don't, it's just lazy to me. Like, it's 2022 and we talk about all these different things about what we need to do, how it looks, but
Okay.
we
Let me
don't think
throw this
about like
question. Not
language.
now that we establish it's lazy, maybe Talawa can answer first. What is the next step? Like, okay, we know our black language are important, right? What is the next step from here? You know, I mean, clearly we don't agree with us learning European languages, right? So what's the next step here?
Oh, wait, I'm off mute. Okay, good. I think one of the next steps, or, it doesn't have to literally be a step as in one by one, but
Uh-huh,
steps in terms of a constructive direction,
uh-huh,
a return to Ma'at, a Sankofa, if you will, in the area of language,
uh-huh,
is incorporating language in institutions. So I think
uh-huh,
what's going on right now in St. Lucia,
uh-huh,
a process that started 2 years ago and coming closer to fruition as we speak, is that in St. Lucia, their so-called, I don't like the term Creole, but just for convenience, their so-called
uh-huh,
Creole language
uh-huh,
is being implemented in schools. So where
uh-huh,
children are going to be given instruction at the primary and secondary level in their
uh-huh,
own language. And part of the reason, and this relates to something Sister Ia was talking about, and also Shiri Lasmi, you were saying about Gabon, is what they realized is children aren't understanding things in French.
uh-huh,
It's not, you obviously you have exceptional children who do very well, but because sometimes African people, we get distracted by the exceptions and ignore the majority. 5 out of 100 is not good. Right,
uh-huh,
right, that's not good, right?
uh-huh.
But they're seeing students do better when they're learning in their own language. It's like when we just, it makes things relatable, and when things are relatable, it's easier to learn.
True,
And
true.
you're seeing, so I think getting that in areas where children are being educated, finding ways to incorporate that into institutions of education and commerce.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
think I think our good sister Wahida made an interesting point, though I'm not talking about Medu Neter, the language of Kemet, so much, but in terms of having it implemented in the things we do, I think that's very important. As we come closer out of the colonial language apparatus, I think those are little by little things we can do, is incorporating that more, not just into social events like music and general conversations, but employing our language in areas like business, tech, and trade terminologies, and things like that. I think that's what's really needed. So I think big up St. Lucia for having Quail in the schools. Um, Eyes, as always, looking at Jamaica like, what do you right, right? The JLU, Jamaica Language is constantly arguing for this. So I think it's just a matter of, like I said, it's an institutional question, because there's even the novelist Chiamanda Adichie, though she's not a Pan Africanist by any stretch of the imagination.
Uh-huh,
But I think what she said about language, one of the things she was critical of, you know, because Ngugi wa Thiong'o from Kenya, Kikuyu speaker, he advocated for African writers to write just in African languages and end it there. She was kind of a bit more hesitant. Her thing is about a wider audience, the globalization, whatever. She's a globalist type of person. But something she said that I thought was important, and getting into the institutional dynamic, is when she said that she can't express certain intellectual concepts in Igbo like she can in English. And she said, why? Because in school, you're not taught in your language. She's not taught from an Igbo perspective this and that phenomena. So oftentimes the language we think of as an intellectual language, many of us, if not all of us at this table, is usually French or English, and in some cases Spanish. Right, depending what part of the world, which type of colonizers you're directly dealing with linguistically. So I think that institutional issues is extremely important. So that's why I said what St. Lucia is doing in terms of actually having those programs implemented in the schools is something that I think African countries and countries in the African countries in the Caribbean can pay attention to, because what this language thing is really about, and I agree with Brother Abantum, is white invasiveness, because that's really what colonialism really is. At the end of the day, it's Yoruba invasiveness into African life, and that invasiveness has affected us in such a way. Right. But like I said, I want to be on the positive with this movement in St. Lucia and the general the Caribbean to getting their languages recognized. I think what's missing is making that connection to that these are not only the culture languages of the African people in these various Caribbean countries, but it is also an African language of the Caribbean context. I think that's important. What are your thoughts on the St. Lucia situation?
I think it's great. Because it kind of it's akin to like you and I had a conversation about the beautiful Miss Louise Bennett, right? And just her command of just incorporating patois in everything. Just look at the pride that it brought, right? You know what I'm saying? So with her, you had people who now are like writing it and they're talking that way. In terms of St. Lucia, I think it's a great move. Um, if they could take it a step further versus calling it Creole, like naming it, you know what I'm saying? Like
Should I
naming
play
the
the video?
language something that the people choose, that would be great as well. So I think it's a great move. Anything we're doing where we can pick out us and practice, not practice, but we can just be us. That's a great move. So yeah, I agree. Shout out to St. Lucia. That's great. um and I just hope they just incorporate it
For
in
me, for
everything.
me, for me, something that matter a lot also is we have to be able to write scientific books, if I can say it like that. I mean, we can start with mathematic books, um, philosophy, history book in our own language. You know what I mean? This is example of practical things that we can do. I'm sorry, I have to go really quick, do something really quick. So I might have missed a few things that you say. So if I'm repetitive, you can stop me. But like one of the challenges, because I love to be practical sometimes. One of the challenges today is like if I want to learn, let's say, an important skill today, in what language can I learn it? Can I learn it in my own language, or can I learn it, or do I have to learn a new language in order to be able to learn it? You know what I mean? And these are the things also that we have to think about. As we learning African language, like uh Sister Wawa, she just suggested that we should rescue or revive the Mediterranean. You know what I mean? Which has, I think, Talawa, correct me, which has like excellent older book about scientific discovery and different tactics. But like we can today again use those languages that we understand well and write important learning books. I know people like personal development, people like programming, so forth, whatever. You know what I mean? And that's kind of for me. Um, is an important step, because the laziness sometimes come from the fact that I think I think the lazy one are probably us, the conscious people, sometimes, because we aware of the situation, and when we produce sometime writings, we still doing it in other languages. You know what I mean? Is that I mean, I know this is not a popular opinion, but that's my opinion. Like, how can you be lazy if you I mean, the lazy one is the one who's aware that an action needs to be taken. You know what I mean? We don't want just to have like we just don't want to write any type of book in other language. We have to write meaningful and purposeful books that will make people want it to actually acquire the book and learn the language. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
that's what I was going to say. I think you touched on a great point because that's what I was going to say. I think now for us who do know
that's
any African languages or non colonial languages, it would, you know, we should take that step, right? That would be a constructive next step. Try it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, you know, books you're, like you said, technical books, math books. What does that look like in your language? Someone has to do it. You know what I mean? Um, I would do it. I just don't speak another language. But
I
yeah,
mean, let's
I
say,
think
let's say you speak the Jamaican native language. I don't know how you call it, patois or whatever. You know, if you Dr. Talawa, you know, you have to produce a research paper in that language. You know what I mean? At least a few, like amongst all the research papers. I mean, I'm not targeting the brother, but like he's probably doing it already. But this is kind of like the thing. If I'm an engineer, you know, and I intend to create a product that I'm going to put on the market, I also have to be able to take the, I don't, I have to make the effort to also put the instruction in my language. Those steps can be done, you know, in the language that I defend, you know.
and I would even scale it down a little bit because Taloa is really good with this. And I know like sometimes me and my family are good with this. We will text in patois. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Just to see like how that looks, how to read that. We will do that. Like, you know, Taloa does that. He'll send me something and it'll be like in patois, and I'll get it. So we could
Mhm.
even practice doing that amongst each
Yeah,
other and seeing how that
he kind of disappeared behind his living room.
I know his luxury living. That's what
Luxury.
happens when you living high.
I don't know why it did that, but one thing I wanted to say about, I think we can all agree, we have to be, those of us who are in the know or in that active mindset, we have to do the work. So
Mhm.
one thing I want to highlight in that context, at least from the continental context, is a writing group, Shemsu Bak. I think some major scholars of Medu Neter um, have come together and have done certain collaborative projects. I have one of their projects here.
Mhm.
It's not, I don't know what's wrong with my camera. I really don't know
We
what's going
can,
on.
yeah, we
Maybe
can see because it's white. I think it's the same color as the background, so it most likely won't be shown.
this is interesting.
Yeah, it's just like that.
Well, I'll put,
Probably, yeah.
let me see. Maybe this
Technology
works
is
better.
against you, man. Oh, we
Well,
can.
basically, Semshubak, they do books where they translate text from Medu Neter into contemporary African languages.
Oh, excellent.
And I think, and this kind of gets to a point raised in the chat. I think one of the things, this is my personal opinion. Um, I think it's worth it. I think it's important for, in the Caribbean, they have to make those connection between the languages they speak to other African languages. We need to have materials not only done in African languages, but also be explained to. We should have conversations amongst ourselves in our languages. So if I want to learn Kiswahili, I should be able to learn it in Jamaican. If I want to learn Yoruba, I should be able to learn it in Haitian, and that requires a certain level of, that is Pan Africanism on the linguistic level, and that's kind of what I would see as tangible. I think that's one of those piece by piece things we can do. I think.
Mhm. All right. So, um, no, I agree. I agree. So, well, I think that maybe one last word about the topic. So, if you have a preferred language that all Africans should speak, what will it be at this
Come
point?
again?
If you, like, you know, like there's always the. I mean, I know it's an old topic, and I think it's already kind of settled. But like, if there's a one language that all Africans should speak, which one should it be right now? Dead or alive?
I don't like the terms of that question.
Okay, how do you want me to formulate that question?
No, I don't like the terms of that
You trying to
question.
start a war, Shanuti, and we're saying we don't want to be a part of that.
I don't, I don't like the terms of
we
that question.
we don't want to be a part of that.
All right, so all right, well, I think that what we can at least not understand from this point is that African language to us is important. It's a must.
Mm-hmm.
It's a must. There's so much there's a lot of things to do out there. In that section, in that question, you know what I mean. Uh, African language matter a lot, and there's no the path to African liberation has to go through the path to learning our own language. You know what I mean? So there's so much that can be done. But as you know, the time is we can only be with you for an hour, you know, and we have to move on with something else. So well, anything else? Well, we're moving to the solution. So solution wise. So I will play. It's in French. Sorry, you won't understand. So I'm going to mute the video in the background. I'm just going to be speaking over. But it's important that I show you. I also have some picture, but I don't know how to show the picture. So a quick background. So as you know, and I spoke a lot about it during the viewer intervention. If you've been following us since the beginning of the this season too, I spoke a lot about what's going on in Mali. Some of you remember we spoke about Mali being sanctioned by the ECOWAS, which is the Economic Community of West African State countries. West African state. They've been sanctioned by this country, and right now, Mali cannot use his money that's in the central bank in the ECOWAS, and also they close all the frontier except Guinea and Mauritania. But that's another thing. But they're not part of. I think Mauritania is not part of the ECOWAS. So they're trying to suffocate the country. So like the people gonna turn against them. So the people gonna turn against them. But something that happened that we have seen, we have a group of Pan-African people coming from different part of Africa. Um, they left from Senegal and they marched from Dakar in Senegal to Mali, which is almost 1,300 kilometers. Amongst this Pan-African marcher, you have people from Ivory Coast, you have people from Congo, you have people from Cameroon, and you know people from Senegal as well. One of the marcher actually is the lady that you see with the flag right now. She's a member of Afrocentricity International, and while they were marching, they send us a few pictures that I have here, but I don't know how to show it to you. So this is so they walk from Dakar to Bamako, which is the capital of Senegal, to the capital of Mali. I'll take care of it later. So yeah, so this is something that's really touching, you know, because like it kind of show that, you know, even when like those leaders, these corrupt leaders, try to turn against try to work against our own interests, the people in the continent, they're aware that, you know, we're not gonna let Mali, people from Mali suffer going through this attack by French imperialists, all the other people who are against African interests. The people of Africa, they decide to come together and support Mali against those sanctions. That's clearly illegal, and they're not they're not fair. I mean, name it. They're unjust, right? So, and the next thing I want to show you is that they finally arrive in Mali, and the president of Mali The President Assimi Goita, uh, he gave, he received the marchers and he gave them all honorable, I don't know how you say that, honorary citizenship of Mali, for what they've done. So they've been received by the president. You can see they were wearing like a photo of Sheikh Anta Diop and the president of Mali. That's the president of Mali here, like we receive him. So those type of things, you're never going to see that on TV. When people say like, "Oh, revolution will never be televised," that's a pure example. You won't heard about it.
Right.
You look everywhere and you don't see that.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Maybe you want to share a few thoughts. I just wanted to give like a little
No,
background.
I share that sentiment. It's beautiful. And I think it's an example of what you said. Like we were always resisting and always fighting, right? You know what I'm saying, for what was right. And we always lent lent our power, love, support to each other. So it is beautiful. The fact that they did that on foot, from Senegal to Mali, that says a lot. You know what I'm saying? And it was selfless. So it was beautiful. It was beautiful to see, and it's a great example. And I hope that we can highlight a lot more of that going on, not only on the continent but throughout globally. So yeah, definitely that's beautiful. I share that sentiment. I think it was a beautiful thing.
Yep, definitely a clear act of African agency. Very much so.
No, it is. It is. Yeah, like that's an example of the things that we wish to see. Like whenever we see our brothers and sister struggle or going through things, it's an understanding that we're trying to promote in the continent at the time. Like whatever is happening next to you in the neighborhood, like whatever happened in Jamaica, whatever happened in St. Lucia, whatever happened in the Caribbean, whatever happened in Africa should be your concern. It should be your concern. And if we have the opportunity or the mean, right, we should support our brothers and sisters who are next to us, or it's just gonna be us, speaking and talking forever. And when I see that, we clearly understand what we are here for. When I see that, I'm like, it pushed me even to do more. And that's
Agreed. It is like a motivation.
yeah.
It is like, what I'm saying, putting juice back into it. I'm sorry, y'all, that's my cat. But just keeping in line with the support with our brothers and sisters on the continent. You can also support AI Philly, Afrocentricity International. You could visit our website, www.aiphilly.org. And you can also support the channel by donating via our Cash App, which is the $ AI Philly. This, whatever we're doing, like, share, subscribe. We're on pretty much all the platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And also, you can follow us on Abiba Toomey, Facebook, and Instagram. So yeah, we're out here. And in terms of what you were saying earlier about like solidarity, taking our agency back, that's ultimately what the organization is about. We do have our chapters on different in different countries on a continent as well. So if you want to support not only AI Philly, know that we're on a continent as well doing work. So yeah, it's beautiful. Taking back the agency is what it's about: self-determination.
Basically, when you're with AI, if you, let's say I want to go to Senegal, we can connect you with a member, and we know this member, is a good person that you can connect with. You know what I mean? So this is one of the biggest advantage with AI. We have members almost all over the world. So if you're traveling and you're a member of AI, we can definitely support you in most of the African places that you would like to go.
Yeah, so that's less. I mean, I know the year started 3 months ago, but just thinking about what you just showed in the language, we should, just going forward, we really got to start connecting and really, really get back, start pushing our language and institutions and building our institutions. Like really make a concerted effort. It doesn't have to be big in the beginning, obviously, but let's just make those small steps, like one step at a time. But we definitely should stay connected. We definitely should, and make it a really, really strong effort to connect with each other.
I agree, because only we can solve our problems.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a great comment here. Like they marched to Mali to end the Berlin Conference border and restore the Mali Empire. That's beautifully put. And I can't agree more. We're in the work of restoring, also daring to invent our future. You know what I mean? We can believe in something bigger than the Mali Empire. You know what I mean? But definitely, this is a good way of putting it together. So, Sister Iya, Brother Talawa, any last word before we close the show? Because I think that
I just want to say, I enjoy my time with you guys on Fridays, all things considered. And just thank everyone who watches us now and later. And we appreciate your support and love, and we hope that it continues. So thank y'all, and have a great weekend to everybody out there.
I'm glad, of course, as always, to with the my co-hosts and the audience, that we can have constructive discussions, and I hope everyone watching gets a clarity of perspective, or if not clarity, a refinement of their clarity.
All right, perfect. So happy birthday to Aparat again, Aparat Amazama. That was a great show. Peace and blessing for all. We'll see you again in 2 weeks, right? I hope you're going to bring a friend, bring a family members, and who to come and check us out. But until then, you have information, join AI, donate if you don't want to join because you're so busy. Follow us on social media whenever you on your phone, at work, whatever, to see what's going on with us and all that. But until then, like we say, unity is our aim.
Victory is our
destiny.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Peace out.
I think what we are suffering from is ideological confusion. That is, that we're not clear, we're not thinking clearly, and that we need a context within which to answer the question, is something good or bad? We assume that we have the same goals, but we never say what they are. It's time for us to think and articulate and establish our goals as Black nationalists and Pan-Africanists. We need vision, we need clarity. Otherwise, we can't answer the question, is it good for African people? Nationalist goal is self-determination. In the spirit of Delaney, Garvey, Malcolm, Amos, it is Pan-African commitment, that is the unity of African people worldwide and one Africa on the continent as a basis for African strength. So we are about building a Pan-African world order based on the principles of Ma'at, not in imitation of a European order. Ma'at as justice and truth. We need a nation concept, as Dr. Clark told us. A Black economic program, a cultural program, an independent political organization, independent Black media, independent African-centered education financed by us and controlled by us. All of this presupposes, very importantly, an African Black identity.